It's important that I walk you through this because we're going to learn a lot this morning. It's very important towards building a business. Our economy has gone through a remarkable transition over the last 3 years in a way that no one saw coming. This is post-pandemic stuff, but it's changed the opportunity for everybody in terms of building a business from scratch. So that's what I want to go through. How did it happen? Why did it happen? And what do you do about it now? So let's start. Let's go back to the chaos of the pandemic, the first time in history, 2020, 2021, where we actually shut down headquarters everywhere on Earth. That's never happened before. Everybody was questioning what would happen to the economy going through a transition like that, but nobody knew. But we were forced to work remotely for the first time in history. That's number one. Now, at the time, if you think about back to 21 in first quarter, when it was the height of chaos, no one had even heard of Zoom. Today it's like Kleenex, but these technologies were being resolved quickly and they were working. So people started to deal with each other remotely, number one. Number two, the acceleration and adoption of this is crucial. Let's think about this for a second. In 2020, there were 110 million Americans over 50 years old that had telephones that basically didn't use any of their features whatsoever. They used them to phone someone or maybe text the grandkids or something, but they didn't use any apps, basically, nothing. Now, when they were forced to work remotely and locked in their homes for over a year, if they didn't figure out how to order food, goods, and services on their phone, they starved to death. So they got really hip digitally very, very quickly. In a matter of 8 months, 110 million people were ordering product and services from companies directly on their phones. Now this is a big deal because you forget, during that period, even Amazon wasn't a full service entity because they were forced by law to drop everything except essential services. And so a lot of companies that never sold anything direct to you used a little startup called Shopify. It was an unknown company. It had the fastest geometric growth of any digital company in history. It's now a behemoth. It's the backbone of so much e-commerce because it allows anybody, including everybody and all of us in this room today, to be able to control inventory and ship direct to customers. Now, why is that important? Think about this. Pre-pandemic, a behemoth like Nike, everybody knows Nike, sneakers, running shoes, they were basically only 20% direct to consumer. After the pandemic, 52%. Why would you care about that? Because when you ship something directly to a customer, any product or service, your margins almost double. So think about this, pre-pandemic, if you looked at my 52 companies, our average margin was 50 cents on the dollar because we went through 2 tiers of distribution. Target, Walmart, all of that stuff was half of our business. Today, we are much higher because almost 40% of what we sell is direct to our customers across 52 companies. But it gets better. When you sell something direct, you get the data. Flavor, size, preference, location, shipping frequency, everything. You get all that information you didn't have before. And so you're starting to develop a relationship with your customer that you never could have ever had, because when it's sold through Amazon or sold through Walmart or sold through Target, they don't tell you who your customer is. They buy the product from you, they keep the margin, and they keep their customer information. Very private, of course they would. But when you get it, you start to form a relationship. Think of it this way. The first time someone buys a product from you, it's like dating. They don't really know what they're going to get, but they experience it. And they say, you know, this was pretty good. I'm going to order it again. And they find the same experience a second time. Something magic is happening there. 2 things are occurring. They're starting to tell other people about this, and they bought it twice. And you are building a brand. It's no longer about you personally, it's about your product or service that they experience. By the time they buy it a third time, you are married. With all the good, the bad, and the ugly of marriage, which means you have a new responsibility to maintain customer service and support in perpetuity, because it costs you a lot to acquire that customer. They become extremely valuable to you if they keep your product or service in their sphere of purchase. Now, this is what you covet the most, and this is what giant corporations do, because I'm going to show an example of how this happened. Let's go back to what's occurring in the economy. Every single company out there now, whether you're a behemoth S&P 500 or whether it's you starting something up, wants to build a direct-to-customer base. Why? Because you want that data. Companies become immensely valuable after they get the first 1,000 customers, because not only have you proven that your product or service is desired, but you've also learned what the attrition rate is for how long these customers stay with you. And your target is to stay under 2.5% attrition. That means once you acquire a customer, you don't want to lose them. Now let's talk about a case study. This is a 17-year-old story from Shark Tank. Wicked Good Cupcakes. The worst idea I've ever heard. Tracy and Danny, mother-daughter team, Cohasset, Massachusetts, they make cupcakes and they put them in a glass mason jar. Very high quality cupcakes, very expensive to ship. They put 6 mason jars in a case, which makes it very heavy, and they ship it to you. Dumb idea, because it's a commodity. So they come on the set, they ask for $250,000, and they won't stop. They just keep pitching. Cuban, who's down on the right, ate 2 of them while they were pitching. That's 1,200 calories, 600 calories per cupcake. And I have to admit, they did taste good, but I thought the customer acquisition model was impossible. And who is gonna buy a 4-pound case of cupcakes, 6 at a time? But Danny, the daughter, and Tracy, the mother, told an amazing story of how they built this business and how it was growing. And finally I said, look guys, I hate this idea, but I really want you to leave, so I'll give you the $250. And this is the very first royalty deal in Shark Tank history. I know I'm gonna lose my money, so I want $1 a jar until I get back my $250,000, and then 50 cents in perpetuity. Very first time that ever happened. And Danny, his daughter, said, don't do it, Mommy, he's evil. And she said, honey, he's the only offer, let's take it. Okay. Now here's where it gets crazy. They get a deal. 2 months later, it airs. It's called Shark Tank Night. 8 minutes. Now, if they were lucky, they would get 60 orders a day. When they aired, we saw something happen that had never occurred before. It was so authentic, it's so real. And the relationship between the mother-daughter was so kinetic, like every mother-daughter relationship. Something clicked in America. In that 8 minutes, they got 90,000 orders. Remember, that's times 6 mason jars. There weren't that many mason jars in America. These jars were made in China. So we had to go back and tell everybody, listen, thank you for the support, but we're gonna need time to fulfill these orders. This was extraordinary. Now remember something, everybody. They got these customers for free. They didn't pay a dime to acquire them. Now they have an opportunity to create a relationship with 90,000 new families in America. But wait, it gets crazier. Obviously, working that hard, 18 hours a day, trying to fulfill those 90,000 orders, put some strain between Danny and her mother, Tracy. And this is a time when the only social media was Twitter, and the longest video you could put out would be 30 seconds. We did Twitter accounts. The Sharks had maybe 1,000 followers or something. But one morning, Tracy videoed a fight with Danny, okay? It was nasty as hell. It was really nasty. Obviously, these two women had come to almost fisticuffs. They were really having a hard time dealing with it, and they posted it. Within 10 minutes, I got a phone call from Disney, and they said, "What the hell is that? Get that down. Take that down." It was going viral. It was millions of people were watching this. So, you know, Clay is the producer, and I said, "Clay, I'll call up the mother." And I called her up and said, "Hey, listen, you got to take that thing down." And he said, "Kevin, we're selling 9,000 a minute. 9,000 cupcakes of 6 jars a minute." So I called back Clay and I said, "Clay, there's 9,000 a minute." He says, "Whoa, you gotta be kidding." So I call back Tracy, say, "Keep fighting, keep going." And so what happened here, this is the lesson learned that I want you to understand. They became the Kardashians of the cupcake industry. Every single journey of the family growing the business was videoed and posted. They created a community. They built a group of families, mothers and daughters, who support these two and wanted them to win. They created something incredible. It was an amazing journey because zero customer acquisition cost. Nothing. It's amazing what happened. Hickory Farms bought them. Today, Tracy's a screenwriter in Los Angeles, and Danny married a drummer. He'll get nothing. I did her prenup. They are very, very wealthy. This is the essence of the American dream. Now, what's happened and why I tell you this story. What you just learned there, and I learned, and Disney learned, and ABC learned, was the concept of content generation and customer acquisition. Now, customer acquisition today is a technical term, CAC, customer acquisition cost. What does it cost you to acquire a customer? And then once you've acquired the customer, how do you maintain that relationship? What does that cost? So when you go through the math of this, and you're all gonna have to learn these two terms, CAC and ROAS, return on ad spend. Most products have a 50% gross margin when you sell them direct. So you have to understand, if you're going to start a business, you're gonna be dealing with social media, 100%. I don't care who you are, what sector you're in, all 11 sectors of the economy now are going direct to consumer. Everything, even real estate. So there's a cost of acquiring that customer. In order to do that, you have to generate some very compelling content. So social media really, really matters. But luckily, we have a new tool that's being used a lot, and it's called AI. You've heard of it. AI now used to be expensive 2 years ago, but it's very inexpensive today. And there's all kinds of methodologies to use it to create compelling content that reduces your CAC, customer acquisition cost, and it increases your return on ad spend. So if you're gonna spend $1,000 on acquiring a customer on Google or on Facebook or on TikTok, it doesn't matter what you do, you want to get at least a 3x return on ad spend. So you spend $1,000, you want to make $3,000. Why? Because you're going to make $1,500 on a 50% margin, and that means you got a return of $500 at least on what you spent that $1,000 for. You made $1,500 back. You get a 3 ROAS, you're going to build a hell of a business, and you're going to attract investors like me. So now we're dealing with, how do I use AI to help me do that? Because every single day, you're gonna have to pump out content. All of you, I don't care what your business is, you have to understand this. So let's look at something new that's come on the scene. I'm gonna show you 2 Kevins here. One is real Kevin, and the other one is fake Kevin, AI Kevin. The reason this matters is Kevin can only be, the real Kevin has to sleep 7 hours a night, which is very inconvenient. But AI Kevin's awake 24 hours. So he can become an agent, that's what they're called, for customer support and customer acquisition, and work very effectively. Now, this technology, until a few months ago, sucked. It was very hard to make it real. But I'm going to show you something that's only a few weeks old and getting better and better and better. And I'll tell you how I know this. Every time we get a new version of this, I'd be in my kitchen with my wife there listening, and she could call it out saying, that's fake Kevin, that's real Kevin. This iteration, she couldn't tell the difference. That freaked her out big time. But you should be able to, and I'm gonna let you try. So let's look at this first one.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful here. What's the big deal about watches? It's not about telling time, it's about marking time. Those very special moments in your life, maybe a graduation, a birth, a birthday, maybe a deal you did, maybe something entrepreneurial or special moment. Every time I look at my watches, I remember why I bought it. And every dial is different. Now, why 2 watches? Why not? You got 2 wrists.
Okay. Listen to this guy.
Hey, Mr. Wonderful here, what's the big deal about watches? It's not about telling time, it's about marking time. Those very special moments in your life, maybe a graduation, maybe a birth, maybe a birthday, maybe a deal you did, maybe something entrepreneurial, a special moment, a time passage thing. Every time I look at my watches, I remember why I bought it. And every dial is different. Now, why 2 watches? Why not? You got 2 wrists.
Okay, so who thinks AI Kevin is on your left? Okay, and that's not even half the room. So why did you get that? Let me tell you, for those who got it right, it wasn't everybody. The thing that's holding back this technology right now is not the video, it's the audio. You picked up small nuances in the human ear, but in about 2 months, the AI model that generated this is going through a massive upgrade with much more compute power, and I've seen the prototype of it. They've nailed it. And so why do you care about this? This thing was generated with a $129 monthly subscription from scratch. So it's probably a tool you're not using right now, but imagine you could generate content in multiple languages. Now here in Florida, we want at least 2 languages, obviously. Texas, the same. And so we've started to have, AI Kevin speaks 5 languages now. We use this all over the world. But I want everybody in here to understand you have to spend some time tonight. Go online and start learning this stuff. This is a wicked competitive tool. It can drop down your customer acquisition cost incredibly, dramatically. So we've reduced our cost of generating content by 40% by using this stuff. It avoids us shooting video in studios. AI Kevin, now the big dilemma for the entire industry on this thing, we can decide here. Do you disclose to your customer that what you're giving them is AI generated or not? How many people think you should be transparent about this? Let's raise hands. Tell the truth. Well, you know what? That's not many people. So what we're learning is, and this is a big deal, I've decided for our companies we will disclose that this is fake, Kevin. So what's interesting about it, what you should understand, 38% increase in engagement when we said, look, it's not me, it's AI Kevin. But here's an example of me, just like we did here. When you do that and you start to query and get people to try and guess what's real and what isn't, they stay engaged 38% longer. They're eating up your content by just playing the game of what's real and what isn't. This is a really interesting time. You can acquire more customers by being transparent about the use of AI. So don't feel that you have to hide it. Make it part of your branding, that you're using this tool for their benefit, because where it's really showing up is in customer support. Where people really want to use this is when somebody has a problem with your product or service and they go online, give them an agent. Give them the CEO, give them you in AI. And tell them you're asleep, making sure you'll be much better tomorrow morning, but you're here with them now. And they start to engage with you in a new way. We found this incredibly useful. So the difference between now and 24 months ago is this. And I don't think even a third of you are using this tool right now. You got to get on it, because your competitor will. And it's not hard to use. That whole AI Kevin thing was only 2 subscriptions for a total of $129 to do that. And you can afford that. Let's talk about something else that I think is really important for everybody in here. I want to talk about what it takes to be productive. Because most of you are going to try, and I hope you're going to be successful, to be entrepreneurs and build your own business. You don't do that for the greed of money. You do it for the pursuit of personal freedom. But in order to do that, this idea that you're going to work 18 hours a day, 8 days a week and all that, that's all BS. You will not be productive if you do that. You're going to have to find a way to balance your ability to make critical decisions with your ability to make sure you stay healthy to do it. And I've learned this the hard way. When I started out and I was young, I was working 18 hours a day. That was very stupid. I wasn't being very efficient. So what does it take to be productive personally? And most people ignore this, but to your own peril. Number 1, it's diet. I know this sounds crazy, and I'm not talking about some crazy diet. Start eating better food. And in 10 weeks, you will feel much better. And what is that? It's 120 grams of protein a day. I don't care how you get it. Most of you are getting 40 grams of protein. So I learned this just recently in the last 3 years. If you can figure out how to get 120 grams of protein, I don't care what you weigh, into your body, you are going to feel much, much, much more productive, have a lot more energy. And what is that? It means you're going to eat turkey for breakfast, maybe chicken for lunch, and a steak at night. Yeah, but you can also eat other stuff, but the point is you're eating too many carbs. You're eating too much sugar, and it's screwing up your mental acuity. Getting more protein into your system, I know this, I'm not a dietitian, I'm just telling you what I did and how well it worked. Number 2, exercise. 8,000 steps minimum a day. Even if you don't do anything else, walk 8,000 steps. Not 10,000, people tell you 10,000, you're not gonna get 10,000 in. 8,000 a day. You've gotta do it, have to do it. You must do this. Now here in Miami, what I do every day is I ride my bike on the boardwalk 12 miles every single morning at 6:45, and I get back, it takes me an hour and 10 minutes, and I work out in the gym with weights for 20. Every single day. I never miss, never miss. All right, sleep. This is a real eye-opener, I'm not kidding. If you can find a way to get 7 hours a night of sleep, your productivity will double. It will double. Most of you are not getting 7 hours of sleep. One of the reasons is you're drinking. I drink, I admit it, but I don't drink 3 hours before I go to bed. Because when you drink, you lose all your REM sleep. This is really hard. Took me a long time. I love wine. It's much better to drink wine with breakfast. I know that sounds crazy, but the idea is what you're going to do when you leave here is wean yourself off the last drink 3 hours before you go to bed. You do these things, I swear to you, it'll be the most important information you leave with today. Way more important than anything else. Because your personal productivity is how you become successful. So, you're gonna walk 8,000 steps, you're gonna eat 120 grams of protein. It's easy to do that. There's all kinds of free apps you can use. I use one called Lose It. You just take a picture of what you're eating. It'll tell you how much protein it's got in it. And you're gonna keep taking pictures because it's easy to do. You don't have to calculate anything until you get to the 120 grams. And once you do that every day, you're gonna feel better. Now, this last one, this is very important. I learned this from my CEOs. I started to notice, let's take the Shark Tank deals. I've been doing this for 17 years. Why are some people so successful and others not? Why is it, and by the way, over 70% of my deals that have been profitable are companies run by women. So I'm asking myself, what are they doing? What are they doing? They don't know each other. These products or services are 11 different sectors. What are they doing? How are they doing it? We learned two things. Companies run by women tend to put growth targets significantly less than those run by men. Men on average said they could grow 30% a year. Women on average said they could grow 17. The women hit their targets 95% of the time, and men only hit theirs 60. And it turns out that really matters in a small business because it manifests itself in culture. When you're constantly winning, hitting your quarters, you're basically keeping your team together at a time you don't want to lose the person in accounting or in marketing or in whatever, logistics. So set lower targets and hit them more often is the lesson women taught us in our businesses. And that old adage, if you want something done, give it to a busy mother, that's true. They mitigate risk by being able to juggle a lot of things at the same time. But there's something else, and this I found fascinating. You need to find 30% of your waking hours and spend them outside of your comfort zone, doing something that you don't know how to do. Now, most people get into a comfort zone because they become very skilled at a pattern, but they're not exercising the most important muscle in the body, the brain, your brain. So when you force yourself to learn the cello, or learn how to paint, or do something you've never done before, and you're really worried that you're going to fail, don't worry about that. Because 50% of the time you will be successful. And I'm going to show you a personal example. A year ago, I got a phone call from a director named John Safdie, and he said, look, I've got a movie called Marty Supreme about to shoot, and I need a real a-hole. And we think you're it. So I called my agent, I said, should I do this? He said, don't do it, Kevin. You don't know what you're doing. You have no idea how to act. And if you poo-poo the bed on this, you're going to destroy your business. But then I thought about, one of my CEOs had told me the day before, you've got to do something out of your comfort zone. Go ahead and do it. Give it a shot and see what happens. What's the worst case? Worst case is I destroy my business with a lot of people. But I did it anyways. Watch this.
It's never too soon to start thinking about the Oscars. You can always tell when the movie comes out at Christmas. Those are always the Oscar films. So Marty Supreme, and the big surprise, not Timothée Chalamet or Gwyneth Paltrow, who is his co-star. There's someone else who is co-starring with him.
Everything in my life's falling apart, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Do you need help? I could help you.
I know it's hard to believe, but I'm telling you, this game, it fills stadiums overseas. And it's only a matter of time before I'm staring at you from the cover of a Wheaties box.
I'm not trying to control you, Marty.
It's unacceptable! It's unacceptable!
But I don't think you understand the stakes. You have no power here.
Seems pretty obvious to me. I mean, Chalamet was getting all of his energy from Kevin O'Leary. I'm shocked by this, but I'm thrilled.
Who would have thought? A film about ping pong is reportedly shattering box office records for the studio A24, and it's getting rave reviews. Mr. Wonderful, how did you get involved with a movie about ping pong?
Well, Josh Safdie, Ronnie Bronstein, who wrote this script, they're geniuses. They did Uncut Gems, called me up and said, we're looking for a real a-hole, and you're it. We want that mean guy from Shark Tank. We love Shark Tank. We want you to be 1952. Milton Rockwell, you're the richest man in America. You're a royalty guy. You're married to Gwyneth Paltrow. And we think you can do it.
Everything works. Kevin O'Leary, he's from Shark Tank. He plays like a pivotal character in this. It is not a small part, and he's very good. And this is a movie that's going all the way. I think it'll be in the conversation for sure for Best Picture, and then across the board.
Kevin O'Leary, who's never acted before.
Never.
He's extraordinary.
I know.
Like when they say a natural, I mean, I totally.
Natural. It's incredible. In fact, the other night after the premiere, I was talking to a friend, and she said, "Can't place that actor. What? He's the character actor. I've seen him before." And I said, "No, he's not. It's Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank." And my friend was so stunned.
You mentioned he likes to work with non-actors. Kevin O'Leary can act.
I don't think you understand the stakes here.
Oh, is that funny?
I get nervous laughter sometimes.
Yeah, he was fantastic in the movie, yeah.
Were you a little wary though at first when you're, because he has a big role and you'd be playing up against him?
No, I wasn't worried because what was being relayed to me was an unusual level of confidence that you see on Shark Tank, and that's the biggest thing on set. It's a naturalistic medium. The biggest thing that can read as insincere from a non-actor or from an actor is a level of tension or anxiety. That's the first thing I think as a viewer. You go, this person looks like they're aware that there's a camera on them or they're being filmed. And Kevin had none of that. I mean, Kevin was all swagger. It was also, he brought a really unique energy. No question about it.
Now it's in wide release. I think it's going to be one of the big movies heading into the end of the year.
You know what people are talking about there, Paul? They're talking about Kevin O'Leary in that movie, and he plays himself, shall we say.
And the Golden Globe goes to Timothy Chalamet.
If you would have told me when I was 19 years old, I'd be thanking Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank. All right, you're laughing, so I got away with that. Thank you, Kevin.
The point is, what I want you to think about from this is if you don't try it, you'll never know. You've got to step out of your comfort zone, and that includes starting your business. Some of you haven't done it yet. You're nervous, you're gonna fail. Don't care about that. What you care about is you take the first step. You don't know the outcome. 50% of the time you will be wildly successful, but you don't know that. And you will never know until you try. So use that energy, then all the things we've talked about today, but take that step. That's why I came here today. That's what I want to pass to you. You just don't know until you try. Good luck, everybody.